Welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. We'll begin in 60 seconds.
Take the day off with me. Come and take it off with me. Take the day off with me. Take the day off. Get on traffic. Traffic with my friend right here. That's what I say. The past St. Jack's, they adding up to nothing. Everybody loves it with me. Okay, yeah. When mom cut off your welfare, I was there. Holding you down, mama. Holding you down. When it left you alone, I was there. Everybody knows I was there. You wanna call me out now? Still loving you like I'm loving the sound. Yes, I'll still be there. Them found ass niggas ain't here right now. Who loves you now? And who loves you now? And who loves you now? Take the day off with me. Take the day off with me. Take the day off with me. Take the day off. Take the day off with me. Maybe the whole fucking year. Oh, we on. Bitch, I'm fucking prepared. This is my love song when I'm drunk off the beer. I love you, bitch. I'm the...
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fearless Floyd Show. I am Fearless Floyd. Excuse me. Tonight, I am very proud, humbled to present Tanawah Downing. This man, incredible what he's doing with his own life, his livelihood, his freedom, because he's risking his freedom doing what he's doing. And I don't think people appreciate enough of the frontline fighters that are unknown, unheralded, underpaid, overworked, stressed, and paying out of their own pocket or surviving on the donations from people like yourself. If you know somebody that's gone through the court system and there was no justice in that event, and I could name at least a dozen of my own personal experiences in all levels, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about you, your experiences, your knowledge. Do you know someone who's gone to court and had children taken away from them, loved ones taken away from them, including the elderly? This doesn't just affect children. This affects senior citizens, elderly. They are abused as well. They are trafficked as well. This is a money-making racket. That's what CPS and all this court probate and guardian ad litems and all these appointments and hearings and paperwork and proceedings, it's all about money, folks. It's a parasitic, tyrannical, juvenile delinquent bully that we've allowed our governments to become and to be governed by. The sad part of this is that I'm not going to say all of these government elected, appointed, employed individuals for the government, they're corrupt, they're fraudulent, they're criminal. No, I'm not going to say that at all. But they've been led to believe through programming, institutionalism, through their company policy, government policy of how to act towards patrons, customers, their boss, actually, which is us, we the people. And through the accumulation of that power, and then be able to go, hey, I'm going to call the cops, and everything stops. Because, of course, you don't want to go to jail for trying to do something, get your kids back or whatever. But this is where we're at right now, where these government officials all across the board, whether they are employed, elected, appointed, doesn't matter. They work for the government. And this is all levels. This is your little town, your little municipality, your city, your county, your parish, your state, even the federal government and the territories. But this isn't just a United States thing. This is happening worldwide. Don't for a minute think that some of these children that were trafficked into Houston, Texas, through the Mexico border through the last 8 years, definitely the last 5, You think they just stayed here in the United States? No. Some of those children, they're gone forever. They'll probably never, ever be found. I'm here on behalf of Tanawah, his efforts, every person that has been human trafficked, every person that's been affected by human trafficking. This is a serious issue for me. This is near and dear to my heart. And I say this because I did not see my daughter for 14 years and 2 fucking months. Okay. I don't mean to cuss, but yeah, I went to prison and her mother never brought her to see me. So I missed 14 years of her life, the best part of her life when she was growing up from 3 years old to 17. I dropped her off on her 3rd birthday. I saw her again. She was graduating from high school and she was on about the 45-yard line of Ford Field in Frisco, Texas, which is the Dallas Cowboys practice facility. Her class was so big, they had to do it in a football stadium, basically. So I understand what it is to lose your children, to have them taken away from you, to not be able to hear their voice, not to watch them mature. If you have some loose change, please donate it to Tanawah. Get him back on the road for We Shall Be Free 2025 U.S. Tour. Help this gentleman out with his efforts. Please. You don't understand what he's doing. If you don't, please listen to him. We're going to talk about it tonight so you comprehend exactly what these unsung heroes are doing. That should actually be in D.C. getting a Presidential Medal of Honor, or Freedom rather, and Congressional Medal of Honor for what they're doing. And there's a whole lot of them out there. Tanawah's one of them. With that, I'm proud, humbled to present Tanawah Downing, folks. How you doing, my brother?
Thank you. I'm okay. Yeah, got a little bit choked up there. It's been, so for those of you that don't know, this all started for me through divorce as well. You know, again, I was on the other side. I was on the other side, and I couldn't believe that injustice happened here in America, because I believe that here in America we had the best justice system, and you know, everybody that was in prison deserved to be there because innocence doesn't suffer, and you know, all these things that we're told to believe in, right, about our system, our government, our institutions, our constitution, all of these things, I believed in it and I fought for it on the wrong side. And it wasn't until I myself experienced exactly what all of you are experiencing that I came to realize that what I believed in was not real, right? There is no justice here in America. The justice system is so corrupt and crooked by people that claim to be experts in the law, and yet they don't follow the law. That is not an expert in the law. That's a criminal. That's all that is a criminal. The very definition of a criminal is one who transgresses the law. It doesn't matter what the law is. If it's the Constitution of the United States, that is still a law. And if you transgress it, you're a criminal, right? So, you know, when we look at the morality of our leaders, right, and we look at what they're truly doing and undermining the very laws that restrain them in order to oppress and hurt the people of the United States, it's a disgusting situation. And yet that's what we find ourselves in. And I could never believe it until I myself was put into it. Guys, when this started for me, my son was like 8 years old. He just turned 18. I haven't seen him, right? I didn't do anything wrong, right? Because the only thing that I've been alleged to have committed was talking to my then wife, right? A no contact violation with a woman who didn't want the no contact order, right? Neither one of us wanted it, and yet the state decided with no reason whatsoever, because there were no criminal allegations, that we're going to put this into place because we're going to use this as a mechanism to shut this man up. Because typically the tyrant's going to say, well, the best place for that person to be is someplace where he's not able to spread his message, right? So let's put him into prison. Let's ostracize him. Let's attack his character and destroy his reputation so that we can advance our own interests of being able to continue to operate as normal. And that's the situation that we're in today, right? Guys, you know, I've gone around the country and I've served 47 state attorney generals with notices that their agents are abridging their constitutional violation under the supposed authority of a state law, right? And they've done nothing about it. Not only that, but many of them have now became governors, such as Bob Ferguson in the state of Washington. He went from attorney general after having been notified that his agents are violating the Constitution of the United States of America under the alleged authority of a state statute, right? And yet he is now sitting general. Same thing with Josh Stein in the state of North Carolina. The man is now the governor after having been served his notice that his agents, the prosecuting attorneys, are all violating the Constitution of the United States of America. Same thing with Drummond here in Oklahoma, right? So, you know, what you got to understand is that what we believe in here in America is not real. It's not. Because what we call good is not good. If you're locking people up in prison who you know to be innocent, that's not good. If you're stealing children and destroying families, that's not good. If you're murdering people, right, through the death penalty that are actually factually innocent, that's not good. And I have to say that if what we call good here in America is committing such evil, it cannot be good, because only evil can commit evil. Good is incapable of such an act. So, you know, the message that I've been trying to put out, I've been trying to focus on, is the fact that we need to reconcile our understanding of the reality that we all perceive, right? And what do I mean by that is that we each have our own reality. You have reality, I have reality, he has reality, she has reality. We all have a reality, but that reality is based upon our experiences. So if I were to say to you that there's injustice in the world, you couldn't understand me unless you yourself have experienced it. If I were to say to you that there's racism in the world, you yourself couldn't understand it unless you have experienced it, because our reality is based upon our experience. The American people have got a different experience from all of you that follow me, right? Got a different experience from Floyd here, right? They've got a different experience from Jessica Saxton, because we have experienced something that the majority of the population has not experienced. It's called injustice. It's called tyranny. It's called oppression. And it's called criminal acts, because it's in violation of the laws that are designed to restrain our public officials to protect the individual liberties of the people. Period. So yes. I have a different experience now. I have a different reality. And had I not gone through this myself, I couldn't understand it. I couldn't believe in it. You know, so sometimes in order to help others, we have to suffer alongside them. That's the way that we change our perspective. That's the way that we have a new reality. It's not because God's punishing us. It's because God needs us to understand things a little bit differently. So as I go out and I inform public officials that they're committing a crime, they can't understand me because they've never experienced injustice. They can't believe that they could possibly be doing something wrong. But the only way that we can bring this reality into focus is by making sure that people understand that this is what the law states. This is what you're obligated to do, right, by that law. And you're clearly not doing it, right? That law, every law, is a weapon of the people, right? It's not a weapon of government. It's a weapon of the people. The reason why is because if government commits a crime in order to secure an outcome, whatever that outcome might be, taking children, locking people up, whatever that might, getting fines or collections, whatever. If government breaks the law at some point in time, then that law is a double-edged sword. They can use it against us to hold us accountable for our own breach of obligations codified in the law. But the same thing happens with them. And again, a criminal is defined as simply one that transgressed the law. It doesn't matter what that law is. So if you claim to be an expert in the law, and yet you don't follow the law, you're not an expert in law, you're a criminal. That's all that you are. You're a criminal. And when government commits a crime, that voids everything else that happens after it. Everything. It's all void because government can never break the law in order to enforce the law. It's a simple concept. So if government's breaking the law at the onset, then what the government produces in the offset is void because it derives from their unlawful acts.
Right.
So, I want to talk about this family issue because there's still a lot of people that don't understand how what I'm doing relates to the family court.
Right.
And I want to use a real life example for all of you. One that many of my followers will understand, and it's from right here in the state of Oklahoma. Right. It's a family known as the Woolies. Right. So what happened with the Woolies? And you guys can go out and you can actually watch a movie on YouTube. It's called Saving Clayton. They'll tell you all about this family and what this family was put through by the unlawful, unconstitutional, illegal acts of this institution that we call justice. All right. And you guys, many of you are going to be able to relate to this as well. But what happened to this family was that they had a daughter, and their daughter, when she was 14 years old, she was at a church camp, and they were playing hide and seek, and she believed that the people were hiding in one of the barns. And again, this is a very religious family, loving family, wonderful family, right? The Woolies, Bill and Lisa.
What part of Oklahoma are they from?
Tulsa. They're out of Broken Arrow. Yeah. So what happened was
East
that
side, east side, west side.
I believe that Broken Arrow is kind of southeast of Tulsa. Oh, no, northeast Oklahoma. It's Tulsa.
That's actually Muskogee land.
Yeah.
The McGirt versus, while you're in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I'm a Muskogee tribe. I belong there. I'm Simpson. The McGirt versus Oklahoma case from, I think it was 2001.
Yeah.
Gave back land to the 5 civilized tribes in Oklahoma. So if you draw a line from Tulsa all the way down to our reservation, we now own half of Tulsa.
Yeah.
That's Muskogee land. That's what the whole McGirt case was about, whether who had jurisdiction, because Oklahoma tried him and sent him to state penitentiary, and he's claimed, no. They never ratified the treaty. So this is actually Oklahoma or tribal land, and the Supreme Court gave him back over 1 million acres. I don't mean to get you off sideways there, but that's something you should look into. And if you need help with that, I'll try to get that.
So I am aware of the McGirt ruling, and I think that one of the problems we have is that the inverse of the McGirt ruling has never been addressed. McGirt was all about can natives be prosecuted, on by state agents on native land. Well, the court said no, but we never addressed can United States citizens be prosecuted on native land by native agents. It's the exact same inverse argument, but it's never been addressed. Right. And I think that we need to address that because that's going to actually, impact a lot of people that have been imprisoned. I know a lot of people that are being prosecuted by native courts, right, that are United States citizens, and that is not consistent with the inverse of McGirt, right? But my thing here is that what happened with this family, the Woolley family, is that they had a grandchild that passed away under tragic conditions. He was sick, pneumonia, and he died overnight, right? And so then all of a sudden, the police come in with these preconceived notions, this prejudice that was built into the typical prosecution law enforcement. And this sheriff's deputy that responded, the detective, came there believing that he was coming to a murder, and he couldn't see anything other than that's what happened. This kid was murdered, and I will not believe anything else, and I'm not going to investigate anything else because I know that that's what happened. So he didn't care about anything. He didn't care about the evidence that was available. He didn't care about the opposing parties' perspective. He didn't care about the actual witnesses of this case. He simply came in saying, this is what happened, and I'm going to make sure that everything I say, everything I collect coincides with that preconceived determination of guilt. So what happened then is that the prosecuting attorney in Wagner County, Oklahoma, decided that he was going to charge Bill and Lisa, the grandparents, with murder of this child. And the evidence didn't facilitate such a charge. In fact, the evidence didn't facilitate any charge whatsoever. But that prosecuting attorney decided he was going to charge them by felony information. Information, not indictment by a grand jury, information. Because information doesn't require anything other than the prosecutor saying, this is what happened. I don't need any third-party person or entity to be able to determine whether or not I'm exceeding the power or authority statutorily conferred upon me, which is the purpose of the grand jury proceeding.
Right. Explain the difference between indictment and information for the audience, because you're talking to your audience. Talk to the ones that haven't never seen you.
Sure. So there's three ways to charge a person with a crime. One is a presentment to a grand jury. That's what I'm working toward with these affidavits, is that I will present these affidavits to the grand jury to use them as an investigative body to determine whether or not there's acts of corruption of government. That's the power that the people have, is to use a grand jury. And in fact, it's even codified in law. The federal statute permits persons to present evidence to a grand jury of government corruption and allow that grand jury to act as an investigative body. So that's what we're actually working toward with these affidavits. That's one of the reasons why these affidavits that I've been collecting has not been used yet, is because we haven't reached the point of the convening of the special grand jury. That's our intent here. The second way to charge a person with a crime is an indictment from a grand jury, right? So indictment from a grand jury would come from government entity, right? A prosecuting attorney would present to a grand jury allegations of criminal conduct, and that grand jury would come down with either what's called a bill of indictment or a no bill, right? Either they found that there's sufficient probable cause to assume that a crime was committed and thus allow for the criminal proceeding to initiate. That's what the grand jury does. Now, if they find that there's not sufficient evidence in order to proceed or to presume that a crime has been committed, then they come back with a no bill. They say no bill, and because there's no crime that was found to exist, and as a result, there is no criminal adjudication that is initiated. So the grand jury is required by Clause 1 of Amendment 5 to the United States Constitution. It says no person shall be held to answer for capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment by a grand jury. But the third way to charge a person with a crime is called information. Now, the problem with information is that information is from a prosecuting attorney who goes to a judge and asks that judge to determine whether or not there's sufficient probable cause to assume that a crime has been committed. But the problem is that the judge and the prosecutor and law enforcement, they all work for the same entity, and that entity just so happens to be your accuser, state of Oklahoma versus you. And so that's the real issue here is how can a judge be presumed to be fair, neutral, and unbiased when he himself is a party to the cause? He works for the plaintiff. There's an obvious conflict of interest that exists because that judge and the prosecutor both work for the moving party, the petitioner, the state of Oklahoma, which is why our founders and forefathers said we need a neutral, unbiased, third-party decision maker to review the state's accusations to determine whether or not there's sufficient probable cause to assume that a crime has even been committed, which is why before you could be arrested and held to answer for an infamous crime, you must have a third party review the state's case to make sure that they are not exceeding the power authority statutorily conferred upon them. That's the basis of this whole thing, right? It is a neutral, unbiased decision maker that makes a decision whether or not a crime was even committed. Police officer, you don't get to just arrest someone and hold them over for an allegation of criminal conduct because you yourself are a moving party, a member of that moving party, a party to the plaintiff, right? You're part of the body of men that make up the moving party. So, but the law states that information can only be used as the charging instrument for non-infamous crimes, misdemeanors. That's federal law, right?
Right.
But the Constitution states that you cannot be held to answer without an indictment by a grand jury. That's the law that binds the whole nation together. Constitution of the United States. If a state creates a law and then enforces a law that abridges the guaranteed rights that the people of the United States have, that would be a crime. And that's what we're trying to bring forward. So those are the three ways to charge a person with a crime. Any felony, right? Most gross misdemeanors require an indictment by a grand jury before holding someone over for that capital or that infamous crime. Pretty simple, pretty clear, pretty easy. But in the case of the Woolies, That prosecuting attorney, Mr. Jack Thorpe, decided that he was going to charge by way of information for this crime that he alleged to have been committed, because they didn't have enough evidence to be able to proceed. And so they just knew in their mind that the Woolies were guilty of this crime, and we're going to proceed, and we're going to arrest them, and we're going to hold them in jail for 8 months, forcing them to have to fight for their innocence. And ultimately what happened was that the case was dismissed because there wasn't a crime committed, and all of these state experts, medical examiners and other law enforcement officers, they all came in and said, no, there's no crime. So the state dismissed that first felony information against them. But what happened was that the day after their grandchild passed away, the state came in through DHS, the CPS here in the state of Oklahoma, and they removed the other grandchild, took them away, right? And removed them, put that child into state custody, and they used the allegation of criminal conduct, the information charge that the Woolies were given, as the mechanism to remove that child. So the child was removed, placed into state custody based upon the accusation of them having committed a crime.
And they're innocent until proven guilty in the United States of America. Not anymore.
Right. Well, so the story goes a little bit further, because what happened now was that Jack Thorpe, the prosecuting attorney for Wagner County, he couldn't get them on the first charge, on the felony information. So what he did was, here in the state of Oklahoma, they do allow for a grand jury, but they allow for the prosecuting attorney to use his discretion to decide whether to charge by information or indictment. So he said, well, you know what? I'm gonna convene a grand jury, and I'm gonna try to get a grand jury to give me an indictment so that we can arrest them again. So that's what he did. He convened a grand jury, and he took this case to the grand jury after having to dismiss it as felony information. He decided, well, now I'm going to try a grand jury, because that'll be a little bit more powerful. He went to the grand jury. That grand jury came back no bill. The panel of people, the fair, neutral decision maker, said there's no crime committed. We found no crime, no bill. You can't arrest them. And Mr. Jack Thorpe, prosecuting attorney for the state of Wagner County, Oklahoma, decided, I'll be damned with what the grand jury said. And he turned around and rearrested them on a felony information once again. So they went from information, unconstitutional, breach of the obligations. Prosecutor tried to bring it to grand jury. Grand jury said, no, there's no crime found to exist. Came back no bill. But then he said, I know that they're guilty. I'm going to charge them again by information in violation of the Constitution of the United States. And that was years ago. Years ago. The grandchild has never been returned. That charge was also dismissed because there was no crime committed. The Woolies, Bill and Lisa, were found to have not done anything wrong. And yet they sat in jail, county jail, for over a year. Their fame was destroyed. Their character was destroyed. The sheriff and the prosecutor were on the news destroying them. They got death threats. Miss Woolley had a massive heart attack and almost died as a result of this. They lost their inheritance. They lost their jobs, everything, all because this prosecuting attorney was so biased that he knew that they were guilty, and I'll be damned if I'm going to follow the obligations that I have to protect the individual liberties of the people codified in the Constitution of the United States. I'm going to do what I want, even though the Constitution requires me to do this. I'm going to do it because I know they're guilty. So my point here is that this is an example that a lot of the followers of mine and your followers would understand, is that your right to have your children were removed as a result of a criminal act, right? Most children that are being removed because of some criminal allegation. Prosecuting attorney believes that you do drugs, and therefore they're going to take your children as a result of that suspicion, that belief. But the problem is, once again, go back to the timeline of events. If the removal of the children transpired as a result of a criminal allegation or a criminal suspicion, but that criminal action was initiated in violation of the Constitution of the United States of America, that second action is void if we deal with the unconstitutionality of the first act.
Right.
So for those of you that children, right, as a result of a criminal allegation right? Maybe they charge you with a crime. Maybe they just arrested you. You know, maybe they did prosecute you and found you guilty. Maybe it was a plea bargain, whatever. If we can show that your arrest was unconstitutional because the state of Oklahoma abridged their obligations and the limitations of power that they have codified in the Constitution in order to preserve the individual liberties of people by charging you by way of information in violation of the Constitution of the United States, we don't have to worry about why they took your child, because the removal of the child results from the unconstitutional act.
Right.
In the case of the Woolies, for instance, that their grandchild was removed based upon suspicion of a criminal act, but they were charged in violation of the Constitution of the United States. That action was initiated in violation of the Constitution, which means that the removal derives from a breach of Constitution. It is unconstitutional.
An illegal act.
It's down to bias. It all boils down to failure to obey the established rule of law, and by using the criminal court as a mechanism in order to advance the removal of children and the deprivation of the familial unit. That's why these are so interrelated, because I would say at least 70% of the people that I've talked to that have removed children, that have had children removed, that removal was the result of a criminal allegation. And if that criminal allegation was initiated in violation of the Constitution of the United States, then what transpired from it must also be unconstitutional.
Right.
It's all unconstitutional.
It's all
If the first step is unconstitutional, the second step can't be constitutional.
Yep, absolutely.
So the absence of a grand jury it's such a big mechanism, right? Because they're using that as the basis to advance a lot of these termination of parental rights. It's consistently what this system is doing. This is a very, very important issue. But the good news is that we don't have to argue so much the second issue. Why did they remove the child? Well, they removed it because of this breach of the Constitution for the criminal suspicion. You know, and I want to go back to this other thing, because, you know, a lot of people still don't understand when I talk about the behavior of the judiciary and how these are interrelated as well. Because if you think about it like this, what happens when you're charged by way of information, and this information is well available, you can go to Blackstone and learn all you want about what's called a trial by affidavit. Information is nothing more than an affidavit. You have an affidavit. That affidavit is alleging criminal conduct. So you are then charged with the crime by an affidavit, and that affidavit then is what they use to allege this or initiate this criminal act. Well, what happens with information is that it sets up what is called an irrebuttable presumption of guilt. And an irrebuttable presumption of guilt is the presumption that you're guilty based upon the mere fact of having been accused of committing a crime. So what happens there is that you're arrested and you're taken to jail and your liberties are deprived and all these things that the Constitution protects, such as your ability to go out and take care of your family and to use your property and to generate revenue and income, and all these things that's supposed to be protected is now taken away based upon an allegation of you having committed a crime. You've never had an opportunity to rebut that, right? And that's why it's an irrebuttable presumption of guilt, is because you've never had an opportunity to rebut the hearsay accusation against you because it came by way of an affidavit. And an affidavit at common law is truth because it's presented as though it's true. Well, what happens with irrebuttable presumption of guilt is that the defendant then has to go out and collect evidence in order to prove that they're innocent, right? It's no longer the prosecuting attorney that has to prove that you're guilty because you're already arrested. You've already been detained. You're already presumed to be guilty because you're sitting in jail and all of your liberties are deprived. This is what happens with an irrebuttable presumption of guilt. So now you have to go out and collect evidence in order to prove that you're innocent, and this sets up a shift in the burden of proof, right? Normally, a prosecuting attorney in the state has to prove that you're guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the way it would work in an innocent until proven guilty type of scenario. The burden of proof always resides on the state to have to prove that you're guilty. It can never reside upon the defendant to have to prove that they're innocent. And yet that's exactly, according to Blackstone, what happens when you have an irrebuttable presumption of guilt, right? The burden of proof shifts, and it's not the state that has to prove that you're guilty. It's now you that have to prove that you're innocent. And that is a guilty until proven innocent type of scenario. This shift in the burden of proof, according to Blackstone, it occurs when the system focuses on speed and efficiency as opposed to the established procedures and processes codified in law. Our system today is focusing on how many people can we find guilty, how many children can we steal, how many people can we lock up and force into involuntary servitude, right? How can we do this the quickest and most efficient as possible, right? Instead of complying by the limitations of power and those that were designed to protect the individual liberties of people, the Constitution of the United States. Those procedures and processes that were designed to make sure that Bill and Lisa Woolley wouldn't have spent a single day in jail, that their grandchild would have never been taken from them, right? And that they would not have had a heart attack, lost their retirement. All of these things would not have happened if the state of Oklahoma would have abided by the guarantees of the Constitution for the United States of America. None of it would have happened. And we see that from the actions. The grand jury came back with a no bill. And because they came back with a no bill, if the prosecuting attorney, Mr. Jack Thorpe from Wagner County, if he would have actually gone to the grand jury and said, this is the evidence that I have, and that grand jury came back and said, no charges, guess what? Bill and Lisa would have never spent one single day in jail. Their grandchild would have never been taken. And all of this would have been resolved because of the limitations of power that our Constitution of the United States of America was designed to preserve or to protect. And that's exactly what happened. So, you know, we have to understand that CPS uses prosecuting attorneys who are already biased, who already believe that you're guilty of the alleged crime that you were supposedly have committed. They're already biased, and they're biased because of the shift in the burden of proof. The prosecutor doesn't have to prove you're guilty because he has an affidavit. He has information that says that you committed a crime. And so he knows you're guilty. He's going to take you to jail. He's going to lock you up. He's going to take your children, take your property, because he knows that you're guilty. He's got the information on you. And he's not going to follow the limitations of power because he doesn't have any evidence, or because he's too lazy, or whatever the excuse is. It doesn't matter. If the system would have functioned properly, Bill and Lisa Woolley would have never spent one single day in jail here in the state of Oklahoma. They would have never lost their grandchild, Clayton. And all these things would have never happened if the state of Oklahoma would have complied.
Is he still a district attorney?
Huh?
Is he still a district attorney?
Yeah, he's still the district attorney for Wagner County, Oklahoma.
Like the district attorney, not an assistant or deputy?
Okay, he's the district attorney. And you know, one of my problems here is that his actions, where he charged by information, then attempted to get an indictment, and then went back to information again, shows that he's aware of the process. In his mind, he showed, I know that there is this process, but first I'm going to abuse it, and then I'm going to attempt to use it, and when it doesn't work, then I'm going to abuse it once again.
Right.
That shows criminal intent. That shows knowledge. It shows an intentional breach of the constitutional obligations that he has, simply because he wanted to find them guilty, simply because he knows that they're guilty. So my point here is that when you look at the behavior of the judiciary in a criminal matter, you are presumed guilty based upon the mere fact of having been accused of having committed a crime. That's the behavior of the judiciary. The behavior for a judge in family court is you are presumed unfit to be a parent because of an accusation of having been unfit. CPS comes and says, this guy's not fit to be a parent, therefore we're going to remove that child, right? Because we presume that he's guilty because we have an affidavit. We have the information that shows that he did it. That's the behavior of the judiciary, and it's the exact same behavior in a criminal matter and the exact same behavior in the family court matter. They're both exactly the same. Problem is that we don't have the enumerated constitutional right in the family court that says you have the right to have a relationship with your child. We don't have that, but we do in the criminal matter. I can show that in the criminal case, that judge is depriving of due process because Blackstone has written about it for 400 years. I can prove that. I can prove that right now. But if that's the behavior of the judiciary and what the judges are being taught in criminal matter, I guarantee you that's exactly what they're being taught in the family court matter. You are presumed unfit based upon an accusation of being unfit, based upon information or affidavit. And that means that if there's a breakdown due process in one, there must be a breakdown due process in the other, which is why if the starting point in a criminal matter is you must be innocent until the state proves that you're guilty, then in that family court, the same behavior must be, you must be presumed fit until proven unfit by the state. And yet there is a shift in the burden of proof. You have to go out and collect evidence to prove that you're fit to be a parent because someone brought an accusation that you weren't. I can't show the breakdown due process in family court, but I sure the hell could show it in family court, or in criminal court, and that's what I'm trying to do. I can show the behavior of the judiciary, how it's a breach of constitutional obligations, and I can show the exact same behavior in family court, the exact same behavior, right? And that's what I'm trying to do. That's why I'm traveling this country like this crazy person. But I want to say that the only reason why I'm doing this is because I believe in it. I have faith in it. No one would be out here doing the shit that I'm doing, you know, being dropped off on the side of the road in Iowa, in Maryland, in Denver, having everything stolen from me numerous times. I would not be out doing these things if I did not believe in this. I believe in it. I know that this is right. I know it's going to work, right? And I believe in it. I'm out here and I'm doing this because I want to bring this justice to all of you. I want it.
Yes, this has to work. It has to.
It will. It will. But the real challenge right now is that you know, we've got a lot of public officials that I've talked to that say, oh yeah, I believe in you, I agree with you, and I support you privately but not publicly. These are people that don't have the courage or the honor to step up and to do the right thing because they're too scared to do it. But they believe in it. They agree with it, which is why all we have to do is find that public official, whoever that might be, one senator, one congressman, one judge, one public official that will do the honorable thing, that does have the courage to step up and say, the Constitution requires it, we got to do it. And when that happens, all of these thousands of people that say that they believe in it, privately but not publicly, they're going to instantly step across and they're going to get on the right side because they believe in it anyway. They just don't have the courage to do it on their own. They're waiting for someone to lead the way. And I'm out here trying to find that someone. We're going to find that person. And when we do, instantly, we're going to have thousands of these public officials that are going to step across onto the right side in support of this because they're just waiting for someone to lead the way. And when that happens, we're going to see a tip in the scales. They're going to tip to our favor. And instantly, we're going to have the power that we need to be able to root out the people that will not comply. But before we can root out the people that will not comply, we have to get the support on our side. We have to tip the scales back to us. There are people that are not going to obey the law. There are people that are too heavily embedded financially in this. We know that. But before we can go after them, we have to get some of them on our side. And that means we have to find one single public official with the courage to step up and say, he's right. We got to follow the Constitution. And when that happens, all these thousands that are sitting on the fence, that are waiting in the shadows, that are too scared and to do it themselves, they're going to step across. And we're going to then have the power that we need to be able to find those ones that are not going to comply and remove them through the power of the shifting of these scales.
Right.
But in order for this to happen, I have to get back on the road. I have to, because right now I'm dead in the water, and we have too much momentum. And the next step is huge. The next step is I'm moving into the state houses. And the state houses is one step below the United States Congress. It's one step below, right? One step below. And the United States Congress has the power to enforce this issue.
So you've hit the city councils and the county commissioners courts?
We've done a number of them. We've done 53 of them.
Okay.
And I'm not going to stop doing them. But next week, I want to be back on the road, and I want to start the state houses. I have a plan. God's given me a plan over the last couple of days here. I know what I'm going to do, and I know how I'm going to do it. And I want to get on the road, and we're going to start hitting the state houses immediately, right? And as I pass through, we're going to continue to do these city councils and county commissions as the schedule permits. But the focus is now we're moving to state houses. We're going to the highest legislative officer in the state. We're going to hit them with their notices, and then that's going to immediately end the state. I will have notified the highest executive officer, the highest judicial officer, and the highest legislative officer in the state. There's no more state agents that will have to be notified at all anymore, and we will have complied with the rules of civil procedure to be able to move this into the United States Supreme Court's jurisdiction finally. Okay. But we had to act consistent with the rules of civil procedure. We had to provide notice to the offended parties or to the affected parties, and that's what I've been doing. I've been practicing an awful lot. That's what a lot of these things with Jess and I were were doing with the municipalities was we were going out there and we were making sure that we were ready to go when the time came for us to walk into these state houses and do what needs to be done next. But the time is critical right now. It's critical. And so, you know, I need the support to be able to get into a vehicle, to move to the next step, and to be able to do this next thing. We're going to have to be very, very fast in this one. And we're going to use the shadow that's created by the government shutdown as a mechanism to be able to do this quicker, under the radar, and just get this done.
And there's a reason he's so anxious and with haste he's trying to get this accomplished. And we're not telling you for a reason, okay, folks, because we don't want to tip our hand and give intel. So what Tanawah and I discussed earlier before we decided to even do a show tonight, because I didn't understand his circumstances. Jessica had something come up and they've had to split up. She's gone back to her home state of Alabama. Tanawah's in Oklahoma. He is without a vehicle. That's why we're doing this fundraiser. He needs assistance getting back on the road for 2025 for the We Shall Be Free tour. Anything that you can donate to help this out, because I'm trying to even find him a vehicle that he can use. If you know somebody that wants to donate a vehicle, I'm going to let Tanawah describe exactly what he needs if somebody wants to donate a vehicle. Or, hey, if you have an RV or a van that has a bed in it, that would be perfect as well. So Tanawah, tell everybody what you need.
So I need something that's going to be able to tow 3,500 pounds. I need something that's going to be reliable enough that we're not going to have any problems. I'm looking at about 6,000 miles roughly that I'm going to need to do in 40 days. It's going to be another 40-day presumption, and it's going to be nonstop. I'm going to need, I would prefer to have some room for some other people to come. There's some film crews that want to be a part of this. I need to make sure that I have the witnesses that are necessary to be able to ensure that this is properly witnessed. We need to be able to have this documented and filmed. So we want to take advantage of that. And so, a large RV would be nice. But if I have to do this alone, I'm more than happy to do it alone. We're going to get this done, and I'll do it by myself if I have to. But it would be a whole lot easier if I didn't have to do it that way. There's people that are available that want to go, that want to be a part of this, that want to assist in what's necessary, witnessing, videotaping, those sorts of things. That would be huge. But if we don't have a resource to do that, obviously I can't support it. But I do have a trailer here. Depending on what happens, again, if I have a resource, I'm going to use that resource. And if I have to sleep in the backseat of a car and only take with me a couple suits, I will do that if that's what's necessary. But I would prefer to be able to bring this trailer with me because there's a lot of things in this trailer that I believe I'm going to need along the way, right. including about 250,000 of the affidavits that I have that will be taken there. We have more affidavits all throughout the country in different places, but I have about 250,000 of them here in this trailer with me right now. Those affidavits we'll be able to use along the way, serving the state houses, as well as also be prepared for this next step when we get back to Washington, D.C. Guys, we're one step below. I had to serve notice to all three branches of all the state governments before I could lawfully proceed into the United States Supreme Court's jurisdiction. This is the final step. We've served the attorney generals, we've served the Supreme Courts, and now we need to serve the state legislatures. And we needed to create such a blanket understanding of the situation, which is what Jessica and I, successfully accomplished together over the last few months, right? God put her into this. She is an amazing, amazing person, amazing at everything that she does. She's incredible. She's exactly what I needed, what the tour needed, and for that period of time. Sadly, she's going through her own family court issues. She had her children taken a year ago, and she has an opportunity to be able to see them. And I don't blame her for wanting to take advantage of the opportunity and not miss that. Her family's much more important than me or what I'm doing and I want her to be able to get her children back. And one of the problems is that I would be detrimental to that, and we know that because the system does not like me. They don't like what I'm doing, and having me at all involved in her life would be detrimental to, you know, to the opportunity she has right now. So I don't blame her at all for wanting to be there for them. That's not my path. We all know that. But God brought her into my life at a perfect time, perfect person to be able to accomplish a perfect execution of that portion of this mission. But now we're into the next portion, and this next portion doesn't require a second person. This next portion, going to state houses and getting them served, is more of a check in the box than anything else, because it's the last step before we move into the United States Congress and we issue a remonstrance and we demand that they fulfill their obligations codified in the Constitution under the 14th Amendment to enforce the breach of Constitution by state law.
Right. You know, and hats off, and I'll talk to Jessica and thank her for what all she's accomplished, and give her the best wishes for getting back with her children. I know that was her goal the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't to find a boyfriend, wasn't to find a road dog. It was to get her children back.
I know.
And you know, she went out there and worked for you.
She did amazing. She did
Yeah,
amazing.
Amazing woman. I can't even imagine having my kids taken away from me. You know, I mean, I kind of roundabout did it, but having the government do it and still be free. You know, because I've told my daughter, you know, if the wrong guy lays the wrong hand on you, you might as well wave goodbye to him. That's be the last time you see him. Right. Believe that. I'll go do that time. I don't have a problem with that at all. Now, what you've described with these governments, and I've litigated against the state of Texas, which is $1 billion legal firm, okay, that practices law. Remember, that's what these people do. They practice law. They have a practice.
Yeah.
So they are not experts. They're still learning. They're learning on the fly. Actually, they're using us as guinea pigs to see what they get away with. And the more they get away with, the more they do.
Right.
To the point
an expert in the law who breaks the law is not an expert in the law. It's a criminal. And so if government is breaking the law, that's not an expert. That's a criminal.
That's a classic definition of a RICO, a racketeering, influenced, corrupt organization. And if you remember back in the 70s, that one of the biggest prosecutors of RICOs was Rudy Giuliani when he was the New York Attorney General. That's how he cut his teeth. Or not the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney in the Manhattan office.
Right.
And he was so effective at taking down the mafia in the United States that it caught on, because not only could somebody file a criminal RICO, but you could file a civil RICO. Well, back in the late 70s, early 80s, people were filing civil RICOs and they were winning. Problem was the government figured out that, they can use that against us. And the whole civil RICO thing just pretty much became non-existent.
Except for, did you know that RICO is the only criminal federal crime that can be prosecuted by anybody?
Yes, absolutely.
So I can prosecute on behalf of the people of the United States on a criminal, on a RICO criminal matter.
As a private
attorney general,
absolutely.
I can prosecute on behalf of the United States for these crimes that I'm bringing to government. So you guys understand, that's what I'm doing here. I have built a case against all these attorney generals, against all these attorneys, because they all work for the church, against all these judges, against our government, right, for the criminal enterprise that they're engaged in, right, on a case that I myself have the lawful authority to be able to prosecute. I can prosecute this. And so by serving every state attorney general, don't you understand that when I serve an attorney general, that attorney general is now opposing party if they continue in their criminal conduct? Which means that there are 47 state attorney generals right now that cannot act on behalf of the people in this case, because they're all party to the criminal RICO enterprise. Who has the authority to step up now to prosecute if all of the prosecutors are all opposing party?
Right.
That's the reason why anybody can prosecute a criminal RICO case. I can. I can be a private attorney. I am empowered with the authority to be able to prosecute this because I myself have brought this case forward. I built this case.
Absolutely. You've done the investigation.
And that's what I want to do. I don't care about the civil RICO. Everybody can decide how they want to be made whole once again. I care about the criminal matter because I deal with substantive law. I deal with law enforcement. I build cases against criminals. That's what I've always done. That's what I'm educated in. I'm not an attorney, right? I'm an advocate. And according to traditional law, an advocate was always the term that was used for a prosecutor. A prosecutor was always an advocate. I'm an advocate. I'm a prosecutor, right? And I'm going to prosecute these people for the crimes that they've committed if they don't comply with if they don't return to established rule of law and comply with it. And I have the lawful authority to do it, which means that I can sign and present this. Yeah. Yeah.
I changed it to advocate.
Yes.
This is the habeas I'm working on right now. So originally back in 2000, I think I wrote this 2005. Because I was so green behind the ears, learning on the fly, I put represent. 2025, 20 years later, I know it's an advocate.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
So there's a couple things. An advocate is also a person that presents to the United States Supreme Court. Those aren't attorneys. Those are advocates. Every single person that presents a case to the United States Supreme Court is an advocate, right? Yep. But in traditional English law, in traditional law, an advocate was always the term that was used for a person that prosecutes a case. It's always an advocate, because the role of the prosecutor was not to go against the accused. The purpose of the prosecutor was to negotiate the best terms of a contract on behalf of the accused. Their purpose was to protect the accused from the accuser. That was the purpose of a prosecutor. It was never supposed to be the other way. That's why everything has flipped and gone the other way. A judge's purpose, the purpose of the judiciary, is to protect the minority from the majority. The purpose and role of the judiciary, as it was created to protect the accused. That was the purpose of the judge. They were supposed to make sure that the minority or the accused was protected. That was the purpose of the judge, not to go against the accuser. The whole system has lost its way. It's gone the exact opposite direction because of it's not innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent. It's not the state has to prove that you're guilty because you have to prove that you're innocent. Everything about this system has been flipped upside down, and it all starts with the fact that the foundation of our law was meant to be the Constitution of the United States of America. That was meant to be at the bottom. And instead, what's at the bottom is judge-made rulings. So the whole system was flipped upside down when judges decided that they get to create the law, and whatever they say is the law, and therefore we follow case law, judge-made rulings, and not the Constitution of the United States. When they shifted that, when they flipped the whole legal philosophy or legal theology upside down, the whole hierarchy, they changed everything around. And it's not innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until you prove that you're innocent. It is not, the prosecutor, it's there to negotiate the best terms of a contract on behalf of the accuser. It's the prosecutor's coming against you because they know that you're guilty, because I'm biased and prejudiced, right? Because I'm going to rely upon the judge who's going to work on behalf of the people to make sure that you go to prison for whatever it is that the state accused you of, when the role of that judge was to protect that person. That was their sole purpose in creating the judiciary, was to make sure that someone was there to make sure that the minority got the rights that they're guaranteed from the majority, and to protect that individual. They were the guardians of liberty, and look at how far they've lost their way, and they lost their way because they never obeyed the law. Constitution was meant to be the foundation, and instead they've taken their own bullshit that they call law, placed it at the foundation, and told everybody that the Constitution doesn't matter. What matters is what judges create. And that's a lie.
2 points. I'm a perfect example, and I always try to relay my own personal experiences with you. what Tanawah just described. When first time I went into court for my DWI in 2001, they offered me 10 years. I'm doing the math in my head. 10 months on parole, you come up. Yeah, I really don't want to do that. Go offer them 7 because I can go do 7 months and pop back out and everything will still be A-okay, I guess. They refused that. They told me next time you come back in, if you don't take the 10 today, it'll be 15. Next time I went in, they told me it would be 25 if I didn't take the 15. Let's crank it up. Let's go to trial. Next time I go in, it's 25 years. Well, that's what I'm facing anyway, 25 to 99 or life. I'm a habitual felony offender. So we go to trial. I get found guilty. And 3 months later, we have sentencing. And the prosecutor asked for 35 years. But my dumbass attorney was sentenced by a judge. So I'm at the mercy of the judge. Well, during my trial, my presiding judge was over in another courtroom prosecuting the South Park Mexican, the rapper from Pasadena or South Houston, Texas, who, because he's from Mexico, married his little 14-year-old wife because that's what they do in Mexico. And they hit him for statutory rape and gave him 45 years aggravated for sexual assault on a child. 3 months later, I'm up for sentencing. Boom, guess what I get in my court? A field trip from school, elementary kids. And guess what the topic is? Mothers against drunk driving. Guess who's up for sentencing? I am. State recommends 35 years, Your Honor. Blah, 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 blah. Mr. Tarvin, stand up. I hereby sentence you to a term of not less than 60 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. He went from 35 to 60.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's my own personal experience of that. For now, I forgot the second one. Man, it always just, it messes me up when I talk about just this corruption. It's just unbelievable what these people get away with.
Yeah.
How everything's been flipped up and how we have what's called judicial parsing. And you're familiar with this term, and that's where the courts, the justices, these higher appellate judge and justices, that's where they take law and we don't like that part of it. So that's void. What they've done with the Texas Constitution in Article 1, Section 10, which is basically the Bill of Rights, you cannot be compelled to give evidence against yourself as opposed to testimony. I actually litigated.
Testimony is evidence.
Pardon me?
Testimony is evidence.
Right. But the reason they used the term evidence, they adopted it from the Tennessee Constitution, which had already been established as a state. We were still dealing with, the Six Flags of Texas. The reason I'm so knowledgeable about this, because we challenged the DNA database for all convicted felons. And we used that. Well, I didn't. Alan Wade Johnson did. He used it. And when he did the appeal, the state sent their brief and he couldn't handle it. And I've told this story many times. So he gave it to me to do the rebuttal, the traverse to the state's brief. So I went in it, found it. They miscited a case on purpose. And he took it all the way. But in the material that he gave me to prepare the rebuttal to the state's brief, included a St. Mary's Law Journal, which is St. Mary's Law School out of San Antonio. In that, it described that particular section of Article 1, Section 10 about testimony and evidence.
Yeah.
When the founding fathers of Texas, when Stephen F. Austin went to Mexico City to negotiate with Maximilian regarding the southern border of Texas, which wasn't even Texas then, they held him captive. And when he was finally released and he got back into Texas, he said, hey, we're going to adopt over there the Tennessee that provides greater protection to Texans that you can't be compelled to give evidence against yourself. Evidence being a breath test, blood, a standardized field sobriety test.
Yeah.
Fingerprints, saliva. It just goes on and on and on and on. That's the whole basis. But what the courts have done is they've parsed that to where It's testimony. It's not evidence. It's not nothing physical. And that's what they've done. That's judicial parsing. And that's happened over and over and over, where they've taken the Constitution, they've made laws. Most of the laws are written by bar attorneys when they get into legislature and in Congress. And then, are you familiar with ALEC, that organization?
Yeah. 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 That's I mean, I know what ALEC is. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, what ALEC is a consortium of former politicians, judicial officers, law enforcement that draft framework for bills. That's where the Castle Doctrine, the stand your ground law.
On behalf of corporations. So they draft the bills on behalf of corporations to give to lawmakers as a already completed bill, to be introduced into legislation. Yes, but it's all on behalf of corporations. And you're right. Like the stand your ground law was a bill that was written on behalf of Walmart, right? Because Walmart is the largest supplier of ammunition and guns. So if you can stand your ground, then there's going to increase the gun sales. And so, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know ALEC quite well, but but it benefits the corporations. So it's bills that are being introduced by lawmakers that are heavily, motivated by corporate desires. And then they're introduced in order to increase the sales by those corporations. It's a disgusting practice. And, and most of these lawmakers don't even know, what they're doing, but they're all members of ALEC. So, so the members, the legislative members, are given these bills by these corporations and said, here, go introduce this. And they go and introduce it. And yeah, I mean, even three strikes was in ALEC bill, what Bill Clinton, brought in. That was an ALEC bill. And I believe that was initiated by CCNA at the time, Corrections Corporation of America, because it would be advantageous of the for-profit private prison companies to increase their capacity. If we had three strikes, you're out. And that was a bill that was written by ALEC on behalf of CCNA, introduced into Congress, signed into law by Bill Clinton. Yeah. And it ultimately led to, a mass incarceration, or a lot of this mass incarceration phenomenon that we see today. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've read about those cases when I was, litigating in prison. And, a guy, he's got 6 felonies, and the last one, he stole a golf club. Life sentence without parole. That kind of stupid shit.
Hey, I've only got 2% left. I'm not power right now.
All right. I got an idea. So 6,000 miles. How long is it going to take you to traverse that 6,000 miles? A month, 2 months, 3 months?
40 days.
40 days.
40 days. I've done this about 6 times, 7 times already. I can do it in 40 days. And that's even with a little bit of cushion and buffer within, but I do it in 40 days.
Does anybody have an extra vehicle that they could loan Tanawah for 40 days and have roughly 10,000 miles put on it? Yeah. If you can do that, donate it. And I don't know, could you do a tax write-off? Do you have a 501 or 503 or 501?
But we do have I do have partners that we could do the tax exemption through them. Another option would be that when I'm done with this, right? I'm not trying to get rich. I'm not trying to get a car. I'm trying to get this mission accomplished, get this task done. So I'm not looking for a car so that I can have a car to live and drive around. Yeah. I'm looking for a resource to be able to accomplish a very specific mission. And so my point is that, I mean, let's say I can go to an auto auction today and I could buy a very, very, very nice car that can pull this trailer and drive 100,000 miles for $9,000. But when I finish the 6,000 miles, that car is going to be worth $8,700 because there's no depreciation at that point. So, all that I need is the ability to be able to complete this mission. And so if I got loaned money when I finish it, I could sell that asset because I'm not looking for a car. I'm looking to complete I'm looking to get this done.
It needs to get from A to Z.
Yeah, and so even if I don't keep the car, I would be more than happy to return it. I would be more than happy to sell it and give you the money, the proceeds back, if you're willing to give me a loan on this. If you have an RV and it just sits around in storage, then maybe you just want to say, hey, let's let this guy drive this for the next 40 days. And that way I can have the film crew. That way I can have the witnesses that are necessary. That way I can have the place to sleep and eat and do those things, and I can return it to you. And there would be no depreciation. There's lots and lots of options, and I would be more than happy to explore any one of them as long as it helps finish this mission as quickly as possible, because I'm tired of seeing the injustice that's happening. I'm tired of seeing these people continue to act in their criminality with no ramifications. It's time for us to bring this to a conclusion. It's time for us to figure out, is there anyone in this government that's willing to do the honorable thing and obey the law? It's time for us to find that out. And
Absolutely.
this last step is going to find out, is there anybody within any state, in any one of the branches of government, that's going to stop this by stepping forward, saving themselves, and saying, we have to obey the Constitution? That's the question here. Are we going to find one? And if we do, we're going to find a whole bunch of them, because the ones that are sitting on the fence that I've talked to are going to come across. But right now, nobody has the courage to do it because they're waiting for that first one to step across. And I guarantee you we're going to find it eventually here. We're going to find it.
Okay.
So
Good
there's
enough.
lots of options, and I would be more than happy to explore any one of those options. And
How can people reach you?
So I would say that the best way would be through either email or one of the platforms,
Okay.
TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X, Rumble. I'm up on True Social now, so we've got a True Social account. We're not getting much traction within TikTok. I'm kind of going away from that because there's a lot of negativity there, and that negativity is largely, I think, government driven. There's a lot of people that don't want to see me successful at this, you guys. There's a lot of people. And so one thing that you have to recognize is the fact that they're attacking my character a lot, but they're not attacking the message. They're attacking the messenger. I could give a shit about what they say about my character, because I'll stand by my character every day in every decision I made, and that's fine. But they can't attack the message, because there is no excuse why government is not obeying the Constitution for the United States of America. None. They have no excuse. So the only option they have is to attack my character, and I could give a shit about my character. I'm here to finish this mission. I'm here to finish this task, and so you guys can reach me on any one of those platforms. I'm backing off of TikTok. We have a lot going on Facebook, although my numbers are still pretty much stagnant there at 25,000. But we're gonna break through this glass ceiling eventually. It just takes tenacity, and it takes continuing on. For every time that they try to knock me down, it just makes me stronger to stand back up.
Right. Yeah. You have to continue. We're survivors. We've been beat up, left on the side of the road for dead. And, here we are. We're still fighting the fight. There's not many voices that want to stand up and have that courage. And I know you're on 2%. What is your email address?
Email address is my first name, TANAWAH, last name, Downing, DOWNING, @gmail.com. Tanawah Downing @gmail.com. And I would say that's probably a little bit better. It's over here, right here.
Yeah.
It's a little bit better to go that way. I have a lot that I deal with every day, and so I'm very selective in the calls that I accept. And I'm sorry that I do that, but it keeps me in a state of peace, and a lot of the chaos and conflict that could come, I zone it out, and especially when I'm out on the road. When I'm out on the road, it's hard. It's arduous. Jessica, I don't blame her for not wanting to be you know, to be out there doing it. She did it for 10 months. It is tough to do this. But again, that's not her plight. This is my plight. This is what God's given me to do. And I'm going to see it through, despite it sucking or anything else. But when I'm out on the road, I very, very rarely do much with the phone because I'm focused on the driving. And if I'm doing this alone, and don't have a group with me, then you know, I'll be uploading videos. I'll be producing those videos. Hopefully we'll be going live perhaps when we go in. You know, Floyd and I, we discussed, you know, my plan here over the next few weeks that we're not going to disclose, but I would be looking for probably lives and uploaded videos of what we're doing. And we're going to be as quick as possible in this next part of this mission, because I think that this is probably the most dangerous time of all, is that transition from states into Supreme Court on what is going to be the biggest civil rights case in American history, hands down. It's going to make Brown versus Board of Education look like court. This is going to affect every single man, woman, child here in America on an issue that has existed as long as the judiciary has been in place.
Right.
They never understood our laws. They never understood how law worked here in America, and they have never obeyed the one thing that they were instituted to preserve, protect, and defend. And that's a pretty big deal, especially coming from some guy that's not even one of them, you know, and beat them from the inside.
When your motto's "In God We Trust," leaves a lot to be desired, doesn't it?
Out of many comes one. Out of many comes one. And that's what we're trying to get here. We want one nation, not 50 sovereign states that can do whatever they want because there's no laws that protect the people. That's what was designed, and that's what we're going to get. There's no more sovereign states, no more 50 independent states that don't have to abide by Constitution of the United States. We're not going to do that anymore. Out of many comes one, e pluribus unum. And I think it's time that the American people realize what they were promised 243 years ago, but have never actually had the experience to make it part of their reality.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We never got it.
Never got it.
Never got it. Damn.
Yeah.
Tanawah, thank you, my brother. Have a great night. I'm going to add on some more of the video. I'm going to let you go so you don't just drop off and fade off. Anything you want to close with?
I just want to say thank you guys so much. This has been the most amazing, incredible, absolutely miserable experience that I could have ever gone through. But it's been a real blessing because, you know, I don't think that there's any greater role than to serve your country and to serve your fellow man. And, you know, I'm proud to say that I'm as much a patriot as this country has ever produced, because a patriot is defined as one who loves and defends his country. I love this country, and I love it because I understand that this country is nothing more than an aggregate of the people. I truly love the people of the United States. I've spent so much time with all of you, and that's why I'm fighting so hard for the preservation of America, because this is literally the preservation of all of you. Like, if we cannot stand up and fight for the Constitution of the United States of America, we have lost America. And I don't want to live in a world that doesn't include this country that I love. And so, you know, if I can end with that, I just want to say a patriot is defined as one who loves and defends his country. But if you say that you love your country, but then in the same breath cannot say that you do not love your fellow countrymen, then I would say you need to check and see whether or not you're really a patriot, because the way that you treat our people is a direct reflection of how much you love this country. Country is nothing more than an aggregate of people. So if you're going to decide that you're going to judge another one of our people, then understand you've already been judged, right? We want the most peaceful, most non-destructive outcome to this. And that means that if we can get public officials to do the right thing, I would welcome them back to the path of prosperity. If we can't, then that destruction's on them, not on us. We don't want to destroy that which we love. So that's why I've been very, very slow, methodical, and careful to make sure that I do not do this in a destructive manner. I don't call to arms. I don't ask for people to be arrested. I want reconciliation, and I want everybody I want everybody to be free, including those that have wronged us, if they choose to immediately stop wronging us. I would welcome them back to the path of prosperity. Thank you so much, Floyd. Appreciate everything you've done.
You're more than welcome, sir. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And you have a good night. If you need anything, you know where to call me.
God bless, guys. God bless everybody.
Tanawah Downing, folks. Life on the road is hard. It's tough. You know, why do you think you see so many musicians that, you know, constantly tour, and they burn out, you know, they get strung out, they OD. Living out of a suitcase is tough business. Now, Tanawah is, he's kind of in limbo. Jessica has taken the vehicle. She's gone back to her home state of Alabama to see her kids. And he's there just in the trailer trying to make ends meet and get where he needs to get. So when I found out, I reached out to him today, called him up, said, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And it's like, "Hey, you know, what we're going to do for you." So I tried to hook him up with my car guy, and I had no idea my car guy sold his business, and he didn't have any cars, none that would fit the bill. So I decided, well, let's do a fundraiser. You know, let's put the word out that you're not in need, but the movement, the project's in need. And he's not trying to get a Mercedes Benz, a Rolls Royce, a Ferrari. No, he needs reliable transportation. He doesn't even care what it looks like. So let's just say you have a 4x4 truck and you've got it wrapped with your roofing company logos on it and the phone numbers, and it'll pull a trailer, and it's kind of an extra vehicle in your fleet. Let him use it. That's free advertisement. Just work out a contract with him. That's all y'all can do. Have a meeting of the minds. I would appreciate it. He would appreciate it. I'm sure there are many, many, many families out there who appreciate it. Now, let me tell you something else about this category. When you're dealing with human trauma, human trafficking, whatever that looks like, whether your children were taken from you, your spouse, a loved one, whatever that looks like. I had to tone back my show because when I did this for a reason, I did it deliberately. And that's why I don't care if I have 10,000 viewers, 10,000 subscribers. I just don't care. I really don't. Okay. And I don't want 10,000 emails. I don't want to wake up in the morning and go read these horror stories. You just heard the Woolies in Oklahoma, a horror story. So depressing. And it sucks when people just send you this, you're just like, golly, how many paragraphs is this? Does it get worse? And usually they get worse. And when you spend 2 or 3 hours a day just reading one after another, and you're on the phone all day listening to these stories, it wears you down. And you become a heat sink to all this negativity, and you have no way to release it because now you've sucked in all this other negative baggage from other people. That's partly why, I just like, man, I just can't do this anymore. I just, it sucks. I hate to say that. And that's kind of how Jessica is. She's been doing this for 10 months, hearing the stories, fighting the fight, living out of a suitcase, going through, living on the road, having to eat crappy food, drink out of bottles, live in a trailer, shower when you can shower, bathe when you can bathe. It's rough. It's not like they're staying in Four Seasons every night. No. You just heard Tanawah. If I have to get a couple suits in a suitcase and sleep in the back seat, then that's what it's going to take for me to get from A to B and from B to C, C to D, all the way to Z. He needs to make 40 stops. That's his goal. You can help him out on that journey because he's going to need gas money or diesel, whatever he has. He needs money to eat, money to survive. Needs emergency money in case something happens on the road. If he, like, a deer runs in front of him. Has a flat tire, which they did have a flat tire, and they were at the mercy of waiting for people to send them funds before they could replace the tire. And these people, not people, Tanawah and Jessica, they were successful. They had to give everything up. Most of you have no idea. I started a Telegram channel called Stop Human Trafficking. Absolutely. And when I got the name, I was like, really? That was still available? In 2024, nobody took that name? Wow. So I grabbed it. I have it. I own it. It's me. And let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Because I want to become a repository for information. For some reason it's not popping up. There we go. Man, I don't know why StreamYard does that. But sometimes it just won't pick up what I want it to pick up on. Try that. I don't know why it does that. It has some kind of weird quirk. There we go. Stop human trafficking. To empower the powerless who have offspring, spouses, and loved ones stolen by the system under duress, threats, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual armed assaults. We are here to stop human trafficking and honor good faith and clean hands. And that's what this is all about. So we will begin to use this as a depository for here's Jessica in Maricopa County. But anything to do with human trafficking, we're going to put it over here. I can break this up and put it in individual states. So please come join Stop Human Trafficking. And the reason I'm doing that is because, as Tanawah described, he's on multiple social media platforms. Mainly his traction is over in Facebook. The problem with Facebook is if you really want to know what somebody's doing, you have to go to their page and read everything that they've posted or done or replied to or whatever. TikTok is not getting much traction. So Facebook's kind of all over the place. You just got to run through your feed. Not everybody can run through your feed. But if you have a dedicated place like Telegram, Stop Human Trafficking. And the reason I use Telegram is because I have a paid subscription. I pay $3.99 a month, but it allows me extra incentives. One of those being I can upload 4 gigabytes of information. So this hour and 28-minute video, like that, it'll upload. So as fast as it uploads, there you can watch it. I can send it to you. That's why I use Telegram. I don't know any other social media platform out there where you can do that. That's why I like Telegram. For all its faults, its foibles, and fraud, and all the other shit that goes on in Telegram, drug dealing, and I'm sure there's human trafficking going on as well. That's why I use it. So we're going to try to use that as a central location, a central database. We want you to come over there. We want you to become a member and take all those videos that we post, all the information that we post, and we want you to share it. Share it on Telegram. Share it on your social media. We're also looking for volunteers. Yes. Tanawah and Jessica, or the whole movement, needs volunteers. We need people to do social media. We need people to edit these videos. I don't have time. I'm one person. I've got so many different social media platforms that I do. I'm doing my writ habeas corpus. I still have a life to live. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't near and dear to my heart, if it really didn't have meaning for me. I'd be upstairs doing something else or whatever. I wouldn't be calling people out of the blue going, hey, man, are you okay? What's going on? Because I'm concerned. Because I care about the movement. I've experienced so much government corruption that I could do another 10 hours. You know, I think I should do that one day. Just like sit here and tell you, just go through my court cases, all of them, and show you the corruption and fraud in black and white. But you can take my word for it and trust me on it. Because when I tell you, as a matter of fact, let me go get this real quick for you guys. Nope. Come on. Where's it at? Come on. There we go. Where is it at? There we go. Prime video. There we go. I want to show you something. Let me get over here. I'll show you this for a reason. We're going to watch this trailer. The reason I'm showing you this trailer, because I want you to watch and see how these prisoners are restrained, because I had to litigate. Yes, litigate in the Walker County grand jury room in front of Judge, oh God, Keeling. He's passed away. Here we go, trailer.
What about the rest of the pigs?
Be patient now. They haven't ceased to be useful yet.
Okay, old man, now you're Mr. Popovich.
Gentlemen, you reach the Nevada pen in about 2 hours. The tape's just a little precaution in case any of you are rocked by the sudden impulse to squeal like a pig. Not that we don't trust you, but let's face it, you're criminals.
Come on, man, move your head up.
I want to stay on.
What?
Changed my mind.
So, Cyrus, we got a little mind changer.
I got 15 years left, and I know I'd just hate myself if I thought I blew my one shot at a naked party freak and an umbrella drink. You got 15 years? Boy, a second ago, you couldn't wait to get off this plane. I know. Feel freedom, I guess. Get him up, get the cuffs off. Pick out a guard and then put that dead cop's prison issues on him.
What the hell are you doing?
Stay in. They're gagging everybody for the bus ride to the pen. It'll be hours before the feds discover what happened. By then, you'll be dead. So will she.
Oh, think of your little girl.
Now, what would my daughter think of me if I left you like this to get disarmed and die?
You keep acting like you're still a Ranger, we're all gonna be in trouble. You're not that.
Get him up, get the cuffs off. Pick out a...
Usually they have a picture of them outside the plane walking. Where's this guy at? Well, if I can get over there to him. Yeah, this guy right here. Generally, right here in the handcuffs, okay, they have this little black lock box that they put in the handcuffs, and they twist your hands where they're opposite of each other. Then they take that lock box and they lock it to a waist belt. Absolutely. So not only are your hands handcuffed, but they're in this box where you can't twist them. They're locked in one position. Then you have the ankle chains. That's how they had me litigating in the Walker County grand jury room, restrained exactly like that, while I'm litigating against what I think are two assistant Texas attorney generals. But what I didn't know was one was an assistant Texas attorney general. The other one was a attorney that the state hired to litigate against me. I swear to tell truth, whole truth, nothing but truth, so help me God. Do you think that's the fundamental due process of justice? No. This is why I can sit here and tell you story after story after story after story after story, where I can just go on and on and on and on and on about all the corruption and fraud and criminal activity and the racketeering influence corrupt organizations. Do you know why the civil RICO is poo-pooed by the courts now? Because it works. Absolutely. Oh, we can't have that. We can't give power back to the people. Until you get involved. And God help you if you get on the other side and have to go, oh my God, that guy Fearless and that other guy with the funny name, they were right. Which segues right over to our friend who I just had him on the show, Stuart Hantee, who's a former Nevada state trooper. Yeah. A former Nevada county sheriff. Yeah. Was president of the state troopers union. Yeah. Who was sitting in his lawyer's office across from this guy named Roger Hillegas, who he'd never met before, and heard this story. Is like, hey, maybe I can help you out. I'll make a phone call. I used to be in law enforcement. I talked to Stuart today. They want him to appear at a probation revocation hearing. What's he on probation for, Floyd? For just helping somebody out, making a phone call, doing a good deed, being a good human. Problem is, the other side's corrupt. The other side's fraudulent. These are criminal organizations. If you work for the government, if you've been elected to the government, and I don't care what level you're on, you need to go start reading the federal Constitution, word for word, start to finish. Then go read your state Constitution, word for word, start to finish. And then you'll see who your boss really is. It's not the elected official. It's not your boss at work. It's the people that come in front of you for goods and services. Those are your bosses. But when they try to tell you what you are supposed to lawfully do, what do? Oh, no, it's the policy. It's building policy. It's government policy. What the fuck is policy? What are you enforcing? You don't even know what you're doing. You're now a criminal. You're no better than somebody who raped a 3-year-old. Yeah, let that sink in. Imagine having custody of your grandchildren and you get accused of murdering one and the other gets stripped away, put in foster care. I'm sure they lost their entire retirement fighting that while they sat in jail for 8 freaking months. I can't imagine what their attorney fees were. I'm sure it destroyed their lives, destroyed their community. Because I'm sure they were like, in good with the community. Then all of a sudden, oh my God, they're murderers. They're child abusers. And this jackass, Jack Thorpe, the district attorney in bumfuck Oklahoma, that dude is evil. He's satanic. That's what I'm going to tell you, because he went 3 times to the well. 3 times and got shot down. And the citizens of that county continue to elect that dude, that criminal, to corral the criminals. That sounds like Venezuelan prison to me. And my friend Carmen Maria Montel, running for the 18th Congressional District right here in Houston, Texas. She's from Venezuela. In fact, she's a former Miss Venezuela from 1984. And the reason she's running, you know what she told me? On the Bible. I want to save the country from communism, Floyd. What? We've already been entrenched with communism. You're a little late to the show on that one, darling. Sorry, it's here. It's here to stay. Why do you think the government shut down, folks? And it starts at the top, and I've said this repeatedly. It starts at the top. Where's the top? That would be the president. And until we start really seeing some genuine investigations, genuine grand jury proceedings, genuine indictments, genuine jury trials, genuine sentences, and genuine prison time by the people we already know they're guilty, and yet they're unaccounted for. They're free to roam about the country on your dime. It starts at the top. Donald John Trump, wake the fuck up. Make America great again. You ain't doing jack shit to make America great again. Sending National Guard. You should have did that day one, bro. You sitting here bandying about with these people? No. No. We're going to come arrest you under the Patriot Act. We're going to lock your ass up. You're not getting a lawyer, and we're going to send your ass to a black site. Yeah. And when we see about 10, 20,000 of those, we might see this country change. But guess what? That's never going to happen. You know why? Politicians do not prosecute politicians. Very rare circumstances do politicians prosecute politicians. Go back and look through history, and you'll see there's not very many. when you know how much criminal activity has actually happened, but yet they're free to be habitual felony offenders. Absolutely. Every day they're committing felonies. All day. And they don't care. Because nobody's going to hold them accountable. Why? It starts at the top. The top's not doing its job. So where do we have to go? We got to go to grassroots. We got to go to ground level. What's on ground level? We the people. Why? Because we've allowed our society, our government to be inverted. We should be on top ruling, but yet we're down here and these psychopaths are running our lives, controlling everything. They need more money? We just raise taxes. We'll create another fee for something that used to be free. We'll put a toll on this road. They're going to get their pound of flesh. They're going to continue to get their pound of flesh. They're going to take everything they can from you until you decide that you're fucking sick of it. You've had enough of it. You're tired of hearing the stories. Why do you think I'm doing this video? Why do you think I do my show? I'm not doing this for profit. I don't make fucking nothing out of this. If anything, I'm losing money. I can't tell you why I do this. It's not like I'm going to have Tanawah on my show tomorrow night. No, that was never crossed my mind. I never even thought about doing a show. If anything, I'm going to go get some rest because I have a medical procedure tomorrow. A couple of them, actually. And I was not feeling it to do this show at all. I hadn't eaten all day. Went and grabbed something to eat real quick and slammed it right before the show. And came on and had an awesome show with Tanawah. So when I tell you folks, until you've been caught up in this other side of the system, okay, where you're not a victim, where you're unjustly accused of something, you've been slandered, libeled, maliciously assaulted, whatever that looks like. Because you can be insulted in many ways, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually. All the trauma. Imagine never going to jail and you're 60, 70. Going to jail for murder of a child you love that you would never harm. And then have your spouse incarcerated with you. I don't know where their children were, the parents of the grandchildren. But let me tell you, okay, when somebody goes to jail or prison, it's not just that person's life that's affected. That person had a job, a career. Now it affects their workplace. They were entrenched in the community. They were involved in their church. Boom, guess what? It affected that. If they participate in any volunteer programs, it affected that. It definitely affected their own family. That's why I said, if you want to do a public, open, live grand jury that had no legal authority, but you did it for principle and point to prove that the government refuses to hold government officials accountable for their criminal negligence, that it would be very easy to go in some of these melanated neighborhoods where they've experienced the criminal justice system over and over and over, and it's very difficult to run into somebody who doesn't have a relative involved with the criminal justice system. If you've ever been to jail, you've been human trafficked. If you've ever been on probation or parole, you've been human trafficked. That's what it is. They control everything about your life, where you can go, what you can do. Oh, you want to leave the state of Texas? You want to leave the county? You need a travel permit for that. You need permission from the county or state or from the court. That's human trafficking, folks. That's just like a pimp telling his hoe, bitch, go get my money. Don't come back until you do. I don't give a damn what you do to get it, but you better come home with my money. Same thing. Please donate to Tanawah. Get him back on the road. We Shall Be Free 2025 U.S. tour. Help him out. He's got 40 stops, 6,000 miles, 40 days. 40 stops in 40 days, folks. That's being on the road. That's hitting it. His Cash App's below. He has some other sources. After this video concludes, I'll put them in the descriptions below. I'll also have it over in the Telegram, Stop Human Trafficking. If you want to reach out to him, Tanawah Downing at gmail.com. You can always reach me at the Fearless Floyd Show at yahoo.com. If you want to call me 9 to 9 Central Standard Time, go to my website, thefearlessfloydshow.com, scroll down to the bottom, get my cell phone number, and give me a holler. Keep it concise, please. If you're calling for a consultation, I'm going to tell you this. I don't know what you know. I don't know what you don't know. I don't have time to find out. I don't know what you've done, what you haven't done. I don't have time to find out. I don't know what your goals are, but guess what? That we can accomplish, because what I'll need you to do is write down your goals, prioritize your goals by need, not by want. Not like I want a Ferrari. That goes on the bottom of the list. I need a house. I need transportation. Something achievable, whatever that looks like. If you know how to achieve that goal, write it down. Pathway to this goal is watch YouTube video. If you don't know, boom, that's when you ask me, hey, Floyd, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. Well, go watch so-and-so's video, or so-and-so has a class for that. And I'll be more than happy to help you at any time. That's part of my sobriety and recovery, is to have to give back. I just do it. It just comes natural. Don't ask me why. I should be charging everybody for all my time, because my time's very precious. But I try to give it as freely as I can, whenever I can. So when I'm doing these videos for other people, there's a reason I'm doing it for other people. Because not only is it just for the people that are doing the video, but you just heard Tanawah, how many affidavits he has. And those are the ones that are just, half-ass paying attention, decided they want to go on a website and fill out an affidavit and send it. There's hundreds of thousands of others out there that you know that have gone through this. Even if they've gone through CPS or something of what we discussed here tonight, and they've recovered and got their children back, but everything that happened was unlawful, unjust, unreasonable, uncalled for, yeah, we still need to hold those people accountable. We didn't really go into the whole indictment information thing, but that's a thing. The founding fathers of the United States of America made absolutely 100% sure when they drafted that document for us, for posterity, that they covered all the bases, that they put in all the fail-safes and the gatekeepers and the stopgaps to prevent the government from turning into a parasitic tyrannical, juvenile, delinquent bully. But when people in authority waive those or ignore them, the whole system collapses and crumbles. That's why we have a United States in civil unrest. I had no idea that some of these blue cities, not Houston, I was appalled when I heard, oh yeah, they throw bricks and rocks through cop cars all the time. I'm like, what? What? Oh yeah, all time. All time. Every day. What? What? I couldn't imagine going to, well, I don't even go to the Galleria here in Houston anymore, but I couldn't imagine going to a shopping area that's now so rampart with crime, drugs, feces, urine, people just strung out all over the streets, graffiti everywhere, windows boarded up, businesses closed. What the fuck country are we in? Unless Trump decides he wants to really go in and clean this country up, get all our armed forces from overseas, bring them back to the United States of America, go into these cities and just start arresting these blue idiots, these liberal dingbats that have lost their goddamn minds. I've been saying this for well over 2 years now. If you're a Democrat, you're mentally ill. You've lost your all reason with reality. The things you guys support, you're still supporting insanity. I'm not saying you need to go become a Republican. No, I think you should be just becoming independent, or we need our own little party, but nobody wants to fucking come to the goddamn party. Everybody wants to be selfish. Everybody wants to have ego. Everybody wants to have fucking pride. My organization is better than your organization, and we can't play with you. What the fuck? You're all Americans from the United States of America. And you have a group of like-minded people. They're doing the same fucking thing you are, you idiots. I'm watching these two knuckleheads over here. They got their big old cowboy hats. They got their big badges on, playing constitutional sheriffs. Really? Social media sheriffs? Go arrest somebody if you think you got some kind of constitutional authority. Don't sit here and play cops and robbers on social media. Make everybody believe or perceive that you have some kind of lawful authority. When you actually accomplish that legal authority, that lawful authority, give me a buzz. I can tell you what to go do. I can tell you who to go arrest. And it just appalls me that people are so divisive, so separated, so egotistical, so prideful, that they refuse to put down their barriers. It's just like Tanawah said, they're not attacking the message. No, because they can't. So they attack the messenger. Absolutely. I went through this yesterday with somebody. I'm trying to expand their horizons, get them out of tunnel vision, saying, hey, maybe you're not seeing the big picture, because there's a bigger picture here. They never once challenged my message. What they did is call me a 2-year-old punk. A 2-year-old punk? That's funny because I've never disrespected you. I didn't talk down to you. I'm trying to actually educate you. But yet you're going to call me a 2-year-old punk. That's how much respect you have for yourself, that you have to reduce yourself to name calling. You can't challenge the message, so you challenge the messenger. And you think by calling me a 2-year-old punk that that's going to have some effect on my life. It's really, man, I'm bad. I'm going to go cry in a corner. No. It tells me my message is on point. I'm 100%. I'm over the target. It tells me that I don't need to associate with you anymore because you belittled yourself because you cannot debate the message. You do not know how to debate the message. So you shoot the messenger. People are having a hard time right now because when they see something on social media that they don't like, they're just like, oh, that's AI. That's deep state. Well, they get you programmed that well, huh? This is an issue, folks. So please, if you can, help us. Help us save this country. It's burning down as we speak. Somebody, somewhere, is overdosing on fentanyl or some other synthetic drug. It's clearly coming into the United States en masse, in bulk, hundreds of thousands of kilos at a time. You can listen to the administration tell you that the southern border's secure, but no, northern border's wide open. They're getting drugs in here every which way they can. And I've told you this over and over and over. It's logistically impossible to round up all the illegal immigrants and deport them. No way that's happening in 3 years, 2 months. No way. So you think they have time to go clean up these cities when our own populace, United States citizens, become domestic terrorists? Because law enforcement, you've got some issues to deal with. Because if you want the people on your side, you cannot be competing against the people. You cannot have these unlawful arrests. You cannot go arrest people enforcing policy and not law. But that's what you're doing. So now when you get attacked by domestic terrorists, and guess what? Who else do you have to fall on? Police aren't going to come save you. Can't call the police because you are the police. You're eventually going to need we the people behind you. Or we the people against you. That's up to you, however you want to make that decision. But if you're a county sheriff, you're a police chief, you need to wake the fuck up. You need to get with the fucking program. Again, go read the constitutions. Because that's the law. All this judicial bullshit, all those millions of pages of law. For instance, tax code. The tax code is so voluminous that there's no one person on the planet that knows every law in the tax code. Excuse me. There's so much law on so many different levels, and it's so arcane, ambiguous that nobody knows it all. But yet, you guys are out here enforcing it, and you don't even know what the laws are. I can't wait to get one of you law enforcement officers on the stand in court during a jury trial and start pounding your ass about the Constitution and law. And we're going to see if you're a law enforcement officer or a peace officer. Because if you're a law enforcement officer, you're a policy enforcer. If you're a peace officer, you're here to protect and serve the people. Huh, what an arcane idea that would be, right? It's up to you. Please volunteer. Please help. Do whatever you can. Help Tanawah out. Let's finish this off. Let's get our just desserts. Let's put these people on notice. I didn't get a chance to bring this up. Ken Paxton's running for the junior seat. It's actually the senior seat, which will be abandoned, but Ted Cruz will become the senior senator from Texas. But Ken Paxton, our current attorney general, who's already been served by Tanawah and the attorneys general of Guatemala. So this November, we'll find out if he's going to be our next senator from Texas. So Tanawah wanted an avenue into Congress, and guess what? There is that avenue. So about 40 days from now, poop, guess what? That'll put us into November, folks. So we will know by then. So please do what you can. If you have a vehicle you want to donate, hit us up. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you watching. Outro coming up. God bless you. Good night.
I come through with the style that's always revealing, from the block like the TikTok don't stop. I was that shorty, you know she was non-stop. I had the hot clot, chilling like a real god. Everybody know Big Juan was a show shot. You get high with the Don, here's the real supply. You get high with the Don, here's the real supply. It goes on and on, ain't no fucking questions why. The gangster of love, get the real fucking supply. What? She came through, giving me more than I can tell you. Everybody knows the next level, I'm so clever. Take the day off. Take the day off. Yeah. Get high on your own supply. Feel like a dime when you do or die. Just get high on my own supply. Do or die when I'm feeling like why. Choose a dime piece. Yes, one of a kind. Holler at me, I was one of a kind. We had a bill, throw the shoes to the side. Come on, throw them shoes to the side. Take the day off with me. Come and take it off with me. Take the day off with me. Take the day off. Get on trap me. Trap the room, I'm saying right here. That's what I say. The best St. Jack's, they ain't up to nothing. Everybody loves it with me. Okay, yeah. When mom cut off the welfare, I was there. Holding you down, mama. Holding you down. When it left you alone, I was there. Everybody knows I was there. You wanna call me out now? Still loving you like I'm loving the sound. Yes, I'll still be there. Them found ass niggas ain't here right now. Who loves you now? And who loves you now? And who loves you now? Take the day off with me. Take the day off with me. Take the day off with me. Take the day off. Take the day off with me. Baby, the whole fucking